Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. Have you heard about the parable of the faithful servant? The parable of the faithful servant, or parable of the doorkeeper, is a parable of Jesus about how it is important for the faithful to keep watch. In Matthew chapter 24, verses 42 to 51, it reads, "Keep away, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed away and had been awake, and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. Who then is the faithful and wise slave, whom his master has put in charge of his household, to give the other slaves their allowances of food at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master will find at work when he arrives. Truly I tell you, he will put that one in charge of all his possessions. But if that wicked slave says to himself, 'My master is delayed,' and he begins to beat his fellow slaves, and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour that he does not know. He will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites, where there will be a weeping and gnashing of teeth." We see this again in Mark chapter 13, verses 33 to 37, where it reads, "Beware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves home and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening or at night, or at cockcrow or at dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake." It is also mentioned again in Luke chapter 12, verses 35 to 48, where it reads, "Be dressed for action, and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master finds alert when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them sit down to eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night, or near dawn, and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man to come at an unexpected hour." Peter said, "Lord, are you telling this parable for us, or for everyone?" And the Lord said, "Who then is the faithful and prudent manager, whom his master will put in charge of his slaves, to give them their allowance of food at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master will find at work when he arrives. Truly I tell you, he will put that one in charge of all his possessions. But if that slave says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and if he begins to beat the other slaves, men and women, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour that he does not know, and will cut him in pieces, and put him with the unfaithful. That slave who knew what his master wanted, but did not prepare himself, or do what was wanted, will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. From everyone to whom much has been given, much will be required, and from the one to whom much has been entrusted, even more will be demanded. Furthermore, in the Gospel of Thomas 103 and 21, these are both documents outside of the Bible itself. It states, Jesus said, "Blessed is the man who knows at which point of the house the robbers are going to enter, so that he may arise to gather together his domain and gird his loins before they enter. That is why I say, when the master of the house learns that the thief is about to come, he will be on his guard before he come, and will not let him break into the house, his domain, to carry away his possessions. But you be on guard against the world. Gird your loins with great strength, so that the robbers will not find a way to get to you. For the necessities for which you wait with longing will be found. There ought to be a wise person among you. When the fruit was ripe, he came quickly with his sickle to his hand, and he harvested it. Whoever has ears to hear should hear." The parable is the theme for several hymns, including Philip Doddridge's "Ye Servants of the Lord," which ends, "Christ shall the banquet spread with his own royal hand, and raise that faithful servants amid the angelic band." The faithful servant is a parable which reminds us to be prepared for the coming day of judgment. It was the wise man Solomon who wrote of a day in which God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. That's in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13. The parable of the faithful servant helps us to understand the urgency of being ready for that day. Every parable has a point to make. What is the point of this parable in which Jesus speaks of the faithful servant? Often, what we find in parables is that the main point is expressed at the beginning and at the end of the parable. Jesus will state the principle, and then he will illustrate the principle with a parable. He will then, at the end of the parable, express it again in a line that essentially says the moral of the story is. The point that Jesus makes in this parable itself is that we need to watch and be ready. We don't know when the day of judgment is going to come. It could be morning, it could be noon, or it could be night. There is not a single sign that will indicate that his arrival is soon. It will be sudden. It will be unexpected. Keep watching for it. God's blessings be upon you. Until you listen to another one of my videos, may you be blessed, stay safe, and be one with God.